We all say we want to be happy, yet if you listen to a typical conversation, you'll notice we spend most of our breath doing the exact opposite, airing out our grievances, detailing our stress, and competing over who had the worst day. This happens because we live in a culture that treats struggle as a moral currency. We've been taught to look at two successful people and automatically assign more respect to the one who suffered more to reach the finish line. Because society applauds a tragic backstory, we unconsciously start hunting for one. We magnify our daily friction into epic hardships, building cages of complaints just to feel like our existence is valid. You see this glorification everywhere, especially in pop culture. Take the actor Pankaj Tripathi. In interviews, he's illustrated his family's humble beginnings by explaining they were too poor to even afford a tractor. But 35 years ago, lacking a tractor was the standard baseline for nearly everyone, not a unique indicator of hardship. In that era, a single tractor often served an entire district. Or consider Shah Rukh Khan, whose rise to superstardom is frequently packaged as a desperate rags-to-riches fairy tale. Yet for his 10th birthday in the 1970s, his father gifted him a film camera. In an era where middle-class families barely knew what a camera was, this was an extreme, undeniable luxury. When public figures inflate their early struggles to sound more relatable, it sends a quiet signal to the rest of us. Success alone feels insufficient. We learn to hunt for sympathy, eventually becoming addicted to the warm, comforting glow of our own complaints. This obsession with a hard life actively bleeds into our internal dialogue, slowly rewriting the vocabulary we use to describe our own reality. A mantra functions through volume. Repeating a specific string of syllables over 100 times transforms it from a simple utterance into a directive that programs your mindset. A symbol word multiplying forms a permanent structure. Listen to the phrases we repeat 108 times a day. I'm exhausted, my luck is terrible, I am stressed. We take temporary frustrations and chant them into a rigid reality. Imagine you have two guests at a party, joy and sorrow. If you spend the entire evening dragging sorrow around the room and introducing them to everyone you meet, sorrow is going to move in permanently. By ignoring the good while constantly validating our hardships, we code misery to be the dominant operating system of our lives. The most tactical way we sabotage ourselves comes down to basic grammar, specifically how we use identity markers like is, am, and are. When you were a kid writing a sick note for school, you wrote, I am suffering from a fever. The phrase suffering from is crucial because it signals a temporary state that will eventually pass. This equation demonstrates when adults drop that separation. We look at temporary problems and say, I am angry, or I am an anxious person. We staple a fleeting emotion to a permanent grammar tag, instead of recognizing we are just passing through a phase. To stop self-sabotage, we must ruthlessly audit our own sentences. We have to consciously separate our permanent identity from our temporary stressors. When you convince yourself that life is a constant grinding struggle, that internal programming changes how you treat others. You start viewing success as a zero-sum game, where someone else's gain is your loss. There's a corporate training exercise that illustrates this perfectly. 40 people are handed an inflated balloon and a sharp pin. The instructor gives one simple rule. Anyone whose balloon is still intact after 1 minute wins. The timer starts and the room instantly descends into violent chaos. Participants pop their neighbors' balloons just to protect their own. Here is the tragic irony. The instructor never said to pop a balloon. If all 40 people had simply stood completely still, every single person in the room would have won. Our fear of others causes us to destroy the very possibility of collaboration. The solution is straightforward. To break this cycle, we must stop playing the victim, stop attacking our neighbors, and focus entirely on our work. People often fall back on the excuse that no one supports them, but you cannot demand a lift while sitting on your couch. You must be out walking on the road with your thumb out. This diagram shows how a house is actually built. Laying the first brick doesn't require outside help. Stacking the first 3 feet of a wall doesn't either. Scaffolding only appears after the wall has crossed a threshold of height. Support is offered to roofs, not to floors. Stop introducing your hardships. Fix your grammar. Build your own wall. Because only once the world sees you putting in the work will the scaffolding of support naturally appear.